evening, ladies and gentlemen. It's 6 p.m. Time for the news bulletin on Channel 2. I am Bthha, and starting off with the main headlines of the day. President Sisi and Greek Prime Minister address a press conference following talks in Athens. Number of Palestinians killed in Israeli occupation-era attacks in Gaza rise to 40. And Egypt welcomes a ceasefire in Yemen and calls for self-restraint in India-Pakistan standoff. Welcome back. The news in full. President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi on Wednesday said his talks with Greek officials proved both countries have consensus over the necessity of a ceasefire in the Gaza Strip. Addressing a press conference following talks with Greek Prime Minister Kyriakos Mitsotakis in Athens, the president also hailed the constructive consultations he held with the Greek Prime Minister that reflected deep Egyptian-Greek relations. President Sisi renewed emphasis on Egypt's interest in promoting its strategic partnership with Greece, saying this partnership is a model example in the entire region as it is based on mutual respect and shared will to develop cooperation in different fields. For his part, the Greek Prime Minister Kyriakos Mitsotakis said that Greece backs an Arab plan for the construction of Gaza once a ceasefire is achieved. He said the first priority is for hostilities to stop and restore the flow of humanitarian aid to civilians. The Greek Prime Minister also said the Egyptian-Greek cooperation will boost overall stability in the Middle East. Earlier on Wednesday, President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi met with Greek President Konstantinos Taskoulas at the presidential palace in Athens as part of the president's official visit to Greece. Earlier, a corporate reception was held for President Sisi upon his arrival at the presidential palace in Athens. Details follow.
President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi on Wednesday met with the Greek President Konstantinos Taskoulas on the presidential palace in Athens as part of the President's official visit to Greece that began today. The Greek President welcomed President Sisi in Athens, hailing the close ties between Egypt and Greece. At the meeting, President Sisi said there are great potential for further Egyptian-Greek cooperation across all fields. Over regional issues, the President said Egypt is exerting great efforts to maintain regional stability amid turbulence, especially in the Palestinian territories. President Sisi said our policy is stable and aims to achieve stability for the prosperity of our people. Earlier, a red carpet reception was held for President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi upon his arrival at the presidential palace in Athens. The president's visit to Greece aims to strengthen relations and joint cooperation between the two countries. President Sisi will be also holding talks with Greek Prime Minister Kyriakos Mitsotakis. During the visit, President Sisi will also lead the Egyptian delegation at the first meeting of the High-Level Cooperation Council between Egypt and Greece, with the participation of Prime Minister Kyriakos Mitsotakis. The council will discuss ways to promote and develop bilateral relations, particularly in energy, trade, and economic cooperation. A joint declaration of strategic partnership between Egypt and Greece will be signed during the visit, as well as several MOUs to enhance cooperation in areas of mutual interest.
Prime Minister Dr. Mustafa Madbouli today stressed the importance of the activities carried out by President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi over the past days, including contacts with international officials. Chairing a weekly cabinet meeting, the Prime Minister asserted Egypt's continued support for the Palestinian legitimate rights in establishing an independent Palestinian state and its intensified mediation efforts with Qatar. Madbouli also pointed out to Egypt's welcoming of Yemeni ceasefire agreement. The meeting tackled a number of significant domestic, regional, and international files, with the Prime Minister hinting at the government's efforts for providing a renewable business atmosphere, coping with the world's rapid changes. Egypt and Qatar today asserted that their mediation efforts in Gaza are continued based on a single vision aiming to end the unprecedented humanitarian crisis in the war-torn Strip. In a joint statement, the two mediators stressed that any attempts to divide brothers, whether by skepticism or distortion, will not succeed. Neither they will prevent their joint pursuit to end the war. The statement said that Egypt and Qatar will not be driven into any calculations that do not serve the interest of the Palestinian people, and renewed their absolute commitment to laying a clear framework to alleviate the Palestinian suffering and holding a ceasefire. Both countries also noted that their efforts fall in line with those of the United States onto an everlasting agreement which puts an end to the Palestinian humanitarian catastrophe and ensures the protection of civilians. The number of Palestinians killed in Israeli occupation bombardment in the Gaza Strip on Wednesday rose to 40. In the latest Israeli attack, and at least 16 people were killed in the Gaza City Rimal neighborhood. An earlier strike on the Karama school, which is housing displaced families in the Tofa suburb of Gaza City, killed 13 Palestinians. In the southern city of Khan Yunis, Israeli air attacks killed 8 members of the Al-Qudra family. A third round of Israeli air attacks hit a home in the Jabalia refugee camp in northern Gaza, killing 3 people and wounding 80. In Gaza's southernmost city of Rafah, residents said that Israeli occupation forces who have taken control of the city continued to demolish houses and buildings. The European Union renewed an urgent call on Wednesday for Israel to immediately lift the blockade on Gaza and allow humanitarian aid into the enclave. EU Foreign Policy Chief Kaja Kallas, Crisis Management Commissioner and Commissioner for the Mediterranean, in a joint statement expressed concern over new Israeli aid delivery plan, saying it undermined humanitarian principles by outsourcing aid distribution to non-humanitarian actors and private security firms. The Gaza Health Ministry said at least 65,000 children have shown symptoms of malnutrition. Media office also said at least 57, mostly children, had died as a result of the malnutrition. The United Nations and international aid agencies warned of an unfolding catastrophe, with the UN humanitarian agency saying that more than 2 million people, most of Gaza population of 2.3 million, face severe food shortage. And Egypt welcomed the success of the Omani efforts that resulted in reaching a ceasefire agreement in Yemen with the United States of America. Egypt hopes that this agreement will have a positive impact on freedom of navigation in the Red Sea. In a statement issued by the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Immigration on Wednesday, Egypt expressed its hope that the coming periods will witness commitment to this agreement, which will provide a constructive impetus to ending the Israeli war in Gaza and the efforts to establish security and stability in the region. The Foreign Ministry said on Wednesday that Egypt is following with deep concern current tensions between India and Pakistan after they exchanged heavy fire that resulted in civilian casualties. A statement said that Egypt calls for self-restraint in India-Pakistan standoff to avoid more escalation. Cairo also called for dialogue to defuse tensions between India and Pakistan, stressing the significance of reaching a peaceful solution through diplomatic channels. India attacked Pakistan and Pakistani Kashmir early on Wednesday, and Pakistan said it had shot down 5 Indian fighter jets in the worst fighting in more than 2 decades between the nuclear-armed enemies. The Indian missile hit targets in Pakistan's most populous province of Punjab, were the first since their last full-scale war more than half a century ago, triggering fears of further escalation of military hostilities. A Pakistan military spokesperson said at least 26 civilians were killed and 46 injured. Tensions have soared since India blamed Pakistan for backing an attack in Indian-run Kashmir. Islamabad has denied the accusation. The Central Agency for Public Mobilization and Statistics today announced that the trade exchange volume between Egypt and Greece reached $4.6 billion in 2024 compared to $2 billion the previous year. The agency said the value of Egyptian exports to Greece also stood at $12.1 billion in 2024 against $1.4 billion in 2023, while the imports value amounted to $564 million in 2024 against $657 million in 2023. And the Minister of Investment and External Trade, Hassan El-Khatib, today stressed the significance of economic ties with Sweden, pointing out to the government commitment to providing an investment attracting atmosphere to foreign investors in light of the current economic and legislative reforms. The minister made these remarks in a meeting with the Swedish ambassador in Cairo, which tackled preparations for the upcoming joint business forum. El-Khatib said that organizing the event comes in the framework of Egypt's keenness on boosting international partnerships and opening new horizons for cooperation with the Swedish side. And Egypt bourse closed lower today amid sell-offs by local investors and local corporations against purchases by Arab and foreign investors and local and Arab corporations. The market capital of listed firms lost 25 billion Egyptian pounds, reaching 2.2 trillion pounds at the end of transactions. The benchmark index EGX 30 dipped 1.4%, and the equal weighted indices EGX 70 and EGX 100 fell 0.8 and 1.1 respectively. The first day of the 25th World Military Equestrian Championship for showing jumping witnessed the engagement of more than 60 professional champions from 20 countries in many competitions. The tournament kicked off on Monday at Cayenne Military Equestrian Club, affiliated to the Ministry Academy in the new administrative capital, and it runs on May 5 to 8 under the auspices of the Supreme Commander of the Armed Forces, President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi. Competitors expressed their happiness over the arrangements conducted by the armed forces to receive international sports events and playgrounds and facilities which have been built along the highest international standards. Inter Milan substitute David Fratesi struck an extra-time winner to send his side into the Champions League final following a sensational 4-3 victory over Barcelona. Fratesi goal and string of super saves by the Italian goalkeeper secured Inter a rolling 7-6 victory. Inter will face either the winner of the other second leg semi-final between Paris Saint-Germain and Arsenal in the Munich final later this month. Dear viewers, by that we come to the end of our news bulletin. Thanks for watching, and that was Basma Taha signing off.